go. Thank you for doing an interview today, Mother.
You're welcome. Now, don't you act foolish too.
I won't act foolish.
Okay.
When we do an interview like this, we want to talk about a lot of things. And the first being, tell us, if I asked you what would be the most important thing in your life, you probably would say your faith.
Yes, my faith would be my most important
Faith is
thing.
your most important thing. Tell us about your faith journey and what it means to you. When you say it's the most important thing, tell us about becoming a Christian and your faith journey.
I would say thankful that my parents took me to church, taught me about Jesus, and it is definitely a journey. So I think there are times when you just take it for granted when you're young, or you just go to church and you just assume that's what you do and you sing songs about Jesus or whatever. But through trials in life and times of need of comfort and peace and assurance, you know that that's your rock and your anchor, and so your journey gets stronger and your relationship with Jesus gets stronger and your love for him. So, and also, like so many people, I think, that are maybe raised in the church who just sometimes even fall away or become atheists, you decide that that's not the way for them. I'm glad that wasn't even something that I thought about, and I don't know how that happens. I know a lot of people end up going to college or think that they get smarter than the people who use the Bible for their crutch, and so I'm glad that I have always known that was there for me, and he is my all.
Tell me, like a Sunday morning when you were growing up, going to church with your family, what was that like? Just going to Ashland Avenue, and just tell me a day like a Sunday morning at your house growing up.
Mama was always up early fixing beef roasting potatoes or meatloaf in the oven with baked potatoes, whatever you could do quick for a family and still get everybody out the door and off to church. And we walked up the street to Ashland Avenue Baptist Church, and we always walked because it was about 3 blocks, and always there when the doors were open. So we went every Sunday morning and Sunday night most of the time, and Wednesday nights for prayer meeting. And was in the old Ashland Avenue where Brother Walker would have Bible school, and I think that we got a lot of our basis for our Christianity there, and still some of the songs that we sang at Bible school. Billy and Kathy and I've all talked about how it just kind of comes back to you as you're older because you remembered it from Bible school days. So,
what's your favorite hymn? Do you have one?
I don't know that I really have one. I love "Be Thou My Vision."
Yeah, that's a good one.
Of course, Amazing Grace is always a great one. There's one we didn't sing that I remember singing at Ashland Avenue that I found in the hymn book that I like a whole lot, called "Fill My Cup, Lord." That's what it was. "Fill My Cup, Lord." I like some of the newer praise and worship songs that we sang maybe in the 80s, but the new Christian music, as they call it today, it doesn't do much for me. I don't.
Lyrically,
there's something missing, and there's not something that you and I can be driving along and all of a sudden think of a hymn and start singing it that I maybe hadn't thought of since I was 20 years old. But I don't think you'll do that with the songs they sing today at church.
Probably not. So tell, what was growing up in a modest home with a fireman for a dad and a stay-at-home mom, and you all just lived very modestly and occasionally went to Florida on vacations.
The first vacation we took, I think I was 12. Went to Florida that year, yeah.
Right.
That was the first real vacation. Daddy had a friend named Hody Miller that had a camp down at the Kentucky River, and I remember going down there a couple of times, if you want to call that a vacation. But Other than that, and I never met him, but we always were excited to go down there. I think we may have gone 2 or 3 times. Took Granny Corman with us one time, and she took one of her dogs, Fluffy, and she'd take Fluffy out in the morning. They'd look over the bank, and she'd call it the big water. She'd say, "Look at the big water, Fluffy."
The big water.
I remember that, but yeah, Mama would cook fried chicken and boiled eggs and get bologna and cheese and bread and white bread, of course, and
Wonder Bread.
Wonder Bread, maybe Wonder Bread, yeah. Green Kool-Aid, we'd always take that and leave very, very early in the morning when we went to Florida because we traveled on I-25, get out of town, and it was 2-lane roads. I think the speed limit was probably 25. No air conditioning in the cars, and so the windows were all down, and we went to Florida, and we found a place along the road and stop and have our picnic or chicken and boiled eggs or whatever, and
And Granny bug bombed the house.
Granny bug bombed the house. She would go in and spray all the baseboards with a handkerchief around her nose like a bandana, so she didn't breathe it. And she would spray everything, and we'd wait in the car because the bugs would take over, according to her, if we didn't do that before she left. So that was kind of a ritual. But the Tucci's lived next door, and they went with us, and that was always fun to travel with them. And we stayed at a place called the Haciendas, and in Daytona Beach, and as soon as they would get there, they took their pressure cookers, the big pots, and as soon as they would get there, Joey and Mama in their individual motel rooms would start a big pot of beans or cabbage and something, and we would eat on that all week, because to save money, we just didn't go out to eat, but we would go out one time to a place called, I think it was Tabor's. They had fried fish and french fries and hush puppies and all the fried stuff that goes with that. Maybe coleslaw, I don't remember, but...
And you were in Daytona during your trip, right? Did you go through there?
Linda and I?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you recognize anything, or is anything still the same?
Not very much, no. We did locate where the Haciendas were. There's a high-rise there now. The Haciendas were a one-floor little units, and now there's a big high-rise, but there was a big strange tree, palm tree that grew this way down. I mean, you could sit in it. It was low, and then it would go up. And we were kids, and it was still there. I did locate that. Yeah, that was
I don't
interesting.
remember you telling me about that.
Yeah.
Did you sit on it?
I didn't sit on it.
Should take a
I
picture.
should have, yeah.
So when you grew up and got married and moved to California, you had never really been anywhere except trips to Florida from here,
Right.
from Lexington, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what was that like? All of a sudden being in California with
Well, I didn't.
2 kids at 20, how old were you? 27?
Scott was 4.
27, yeah.
Yeah,
was
26,
all that like?
27.
You
I
had across
did.
the country.
I didn't want to go. I cried and was just miserable. I just hated it. We were there just a short time when I think we just adapted. Or I just adapted much quicker than I thought I would in retrospect. We found lots of things to do in Howarth Park and riding our bicycles and meeting the neighborhood kids and school activities and baseball and t-ball and soccer, and we got busy.
And we didn't know anything one way or the other, did we?
And you didn't, yeah, you were 8 and 4, so
Just jump right
as
in.
long as you were there with your mom, it didn't make any difference.
And then almost 10 years there, then you didn't really want to leave.
No.
Right?
Well, kind of did, because I thought, coming back would be nice to be near family, but it was hard leaving. I had
Yeah.
made some really good friendships and enjoyed the area and the climate, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And so,
enjoyed all your growing up years there. That was good, as well as you have the memories of that. I do too. So
yeah. So talk about kid raising. If you were telling somebody now who's getting ready to start kids like Chrissy or Ruth or somebody like that, what's raising kids, and how do you raise kids?
one day at a time. One day at a time. I think choose your battles is very important. I think people tend to raise kids in a way that they think other people expect their kids to act, or it reflects on them if their kids aren't well behaved or say the right thing or do the right thing, and kids are just kids. I know people have said to me, bringing their children over sometimes, well, I'm sorry, if I got kids and they're going to, I said, look, if you've had kids, you understand. And if you don't, it doesn't matter. You're going to think whatever you want to think. But I've had children, so I know they make a mess, they break things, they're kids, and so if you just don't worry about those kind of things and live life and enjoy it, I think it's probably a whole lot easier raising kids.
And what about boys versus girls?
I don't know because I didn't have any girls.
I know, but what do you think about that?
I hear that boys are easier, and I think they probably are. Yeah, I think it. I don't. You don't deal with a lot of the. What's the word I'm looking for? Issues where girls are so self-conscious about who they are and what they look like, and where they're too fat or their hair's just right or whatever. Boys don't do all that, and I think boys are just easier. Boys were fun. I'm sure girls can be fun too, but I had a lot of fun with you all growing up. And
would you say we were just typical boys?
no, you were much better than most. I think you were typical, yeah. I think you were very typical.
Just normal boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing, I've said before, I'm very thankful I never had to go to jail and bail you out. I never had to lay awake at night, wonder where you were, and I'm very, very thankful that you were good kids, for lack of better words.
How did you raise perfect children? How did that happen?
Oh, God, for sure. I remember one time asking you and Scott, why do you think you never did thus and so? And you said, your answers were, we wouldn't want to disappoint you, and we knew there'd be consequences. And I don't know how you knew there would be, what kind of consequences there'd be if something severe had happened, because it never did. But that was your answers, so I don't know. But whatever it was, I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks.
Sure.
Shifting gears, like what I was going to tell you, I was going to ask you about real estate. When you decided to do that, what made you decide to go into that first? And
Probably.
You were 30 in your 30s.
Yeah, probably a mixture of things. Rick was building houses, and we had 4, maybe 5 or 6 lots, I don't remember, over in Cumberland Hills. And he was building spec houses, and he realized that by the time he was overbuilding for the neighborhood. It was in a Ball neighborhood, and the Ball at that time, I don't know about now, but was cutting a lot of corners. And Rick wouldn't do that. He was a very quality builder. And in fact, the inspectors would tell him, we won't see anything like this around here. You're not going to make it if you keep putting this kind of money into these houses. And so by the time that the realtor would come along and find a buyer, he would figure it out in the end. We'd figure out in the books that the realtor was making more than we were. And so he kind of was suggesting, why don't you get your real estate license? Jenny Aubrey had just started real estate school, and we had known them from First Baptist. And so Jenny and I just got to talking about it, and I thought, well, that sounds like something interesting maybe to do. And that's kind of how it started.
Do you think that was a good fit for you, that career, when you look back on it?
Probably, yeah. Probably, yeah.
Why?
Because I'm outgoing and I like people, and I like helping people. It was a camaraderie amongst realtors. Back then, there were a lot more events that realtors went to that was more of social activities. Realtors are not going to give you any business, so it's not something you're doing to create business. You have something in common, so you get together and do a lot of things. So that was a good social outlet for me. I met a lot of friends during that time. It was demanding in that sometimes I might not want to go. Okay. Yeah, might not want to go to work, but like on a Sunday afternoon, if that was the time they wanted to write the offer, I might not get to go to the family dinner. But then I could also, it was flexible enough that I could say, I can't work Thursday night because we're having your birthday party, whatever, So, yeah, I think it was good all in all.
I remember you working a lot on Sundays and taking a lot of phone calls all the time, and where we were thinking, gosh, the phone never stops ringing.
Yeah.
It seemed like in the midst of it all.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember you all said that one time when I had a pager before we had the cell phones. And the pager went off 2 or 3 times while we were eating dinner, and I would get up and look at it. And maybe you said something like, you realize we never even eat dinner and your pager doesn't go off or something like that. And so I really had to, you feel there's an urgency in it because you might miss next month's paycheck if you don't answer that. But family and spending time with people that you love is more important than that. So I had to learn to curb that.
Would you do it again, real estate? Was that, did you, how long did you do it? 30 years?
31.
31 years?
I think it was 31.
31 years. I mean, that's a full career.
Yes. Would I do it again?
Yeah, I mean,
Knowing what I know about it today and how much it's changed, no. And I wouldn't advise anybody else to do it either.
You mean if you're starting today?
Yeah.
And why is that?
Just the rules and regulations have gotten so much more strict. A lot more liability on the realtors, and you can be blamed for everything that goes wrong. You can be fined. You can lose your license. You can, I mean, not that you would intentionally make a mistake, but you're supposed to know. To say I didn't know, if it went to court today, is not good enough. You should have known. That was your job. And I think people have more access to internet has been a good thing. They can find their house online rather than wait until they get their MLS book. But on the other hand, then most people think realtors make way too much money anyway for what they do, and so they would probably, over the years, I've seen them become much more aggravated by that, and so they tend to go out and do their own thing. It's just much more competitive, and people have gotten crazier, just like they have in everything else, I guess, over the years. I don't know how else to describe it, but that seems to be the talk amongst realtors that I still talk to and know that have been in the business 20 and 30 years. They say it just continues to get worse and worse as far as that kind of thing.
I remember when you, with one company you were with, you won the Different Drummer Award. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. We still have that little drum.
You have that little thing? It was because you won because you marched to the beat of a different drummer.
I'm not sure if there was anything specific about that or not, but
I was going to say, why do you think you won that award?
because I'm different.
Why?
I don't know.
Because
I'm
craziness?
special. I don't know. Something must have happened. You know, so they were trying to come up with names for everybody for some kind of award. But yeah, I kind of do. I mean, I don't break rules, but I don't put up with a lot of foolishness and don't play games, and I think people who tend to get into all that and get into the groups that do are considered normal, and those of us who don't, something's wrong with us, so we must march to a different
March
drum.
to a different drum.
Yeah, I think that's it.
How would you describe you?
Creative.
Yeah. Like Aaron
That's
said?
what Aaron said.
Yeah.
How would I describe me?
Yeah.
How would you describe you?
How would you like people to describe you?
Oh,
how do you
that's
think people think?
that's better. Okay, I would
How
like
would
people.
how do you think people?
I would like people to think that I'm kind and giving and make them feel special and encourage them, and
No crying.